Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Action Popcast for Real Impact. I am Nick, APD, confusingly with a channel called APC, and to the side of me is someone I've been trying to get on here for ages. I don't know what way I'm pointing because the thumbs always reverse it on this thing. But so this evening I am joined by the one, the only, the Lego destroying, toy wizard repairing extraordinaire himself, Dave of Toy Polloi. Dave, how are you this evening?
I'm doing good, and it's nice to be on as well. I have to say that animation's really rubbish that you just played, so we won't talk about that.
But no, I'm doing
some
really cowboy good. To make that for me. I don't know who it was.
Terrible. I hear it's from a channel called Toy Polloi 2 or something like that. A side shoot of someone's
we
project.
Don't talk about them.
But no, I'm good, thanks. It's been a good day. It's been a good week actually. I've been very busy fixing toys and hurting myself while fixing toys, but you'll be seeing that later in a few videos time.
Have you done a stabby? Have you done another stabby?
I did do a stabby. I was fixing a toy that I fixed many times before, and of course while I'm filming it things are in the way. I slipped and stabbed myself in the thumb. It really did quite hurt, but that's the perils of fixing toys.
Well, we all suffer for our art, they say, and unfortunately it was your fingers, so yes. But before I say hello to the chat, so you picked this evening's film. This is your choice, Battle Beyond the Stars. I'm going to say I hadn't seen it till you said. I have now watched it. I've compiled some notes, but before we sell the hellos and that, and sort of give everyone a wave and a little shout out, why this film, Dave? Of all of them, I've got to ask. I ask everyone.
Do you know what? It's one of those films. I saw it. I don't think I saw it when it came out. It came out about, I think it was 1980. I saw it after I got really into the A-Team. And obviously George Peppard is in this movie. And I think because I'd seen the A-Team, as soon as I saw this movie, I loved it. There's some quotable sort of lines with him in it. And at that era, it was like... it was just a heyday for science fiction movies. We'd had Star Wars. I liked things like Battlestar Galactica. I liked Buck Rogers, Disney's The Black Hole. But this one really sort of sat in my mind. There's so many memorable bits of it. The ship is quite memorable. Some of the characters are very memorable. And it's just stuck with me for years and years. And I don't think enough people sort of remember it. I know there is a sort of a core sort of fan base, but I just don't think enough people remember it or have watched it in recent years. It is still a very good film. So I wanted to pick it, so that more people would see it again.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed watching it. I've brung up a little slide here showing a couple of poster variations. The one to the right, if you haven't seen this, you may notice that the spaceship has very feminine sort of features. And I'm sure we're going to get into that this evening.
It's a rather voluptuous ship, shall we say.
Yes.
There's a certain a couple of aspects of it that certainly stand out, shall we say?
Yeah. Right, I'm going to turn the schoolboy giggle off now, and I'm going to jump into the chat, if you don't mind, and say hello to those who have joined us this evening, Dave. So, first and foremost, we have been joined by Only Vader's Girl. She says, "Hi guys, hope you have a great show. Cheers, Kat. Good to see you this evening." We've also been joined by Emma C, my friend, my friend who I mercilessly take the mickey out of, but you're getting another free pass tonight, Em, because I can't find the slide that I take the mickey out of you with. Also, we've been joined by Jojo. She says, "Howdy." Hey, kind of appropriate for one of the characters.
Indeed. And, yes, the Space Cowboy. We'll be discussing him soon.
We will indeed. We've also been joined by Super Spanner himself, Monkey Boy's Toys. Says, "Oi, oi, Space Farmers. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope you're doing well, Monkey Boy. Good to see you in the chat." We've also been joined by by Connor. Put your teeth in, Nicholas. Or Fuller's Figures. He says, "Okay, I know nothing about this movie. Nick and Dave, sell it to me." Well, we will do our best.
Yeah.
We've also been joined by Adam of Go Figure. Hey, man. He says, hey, good to see you this evening. Thank you for popping in. We've also been joined by Kieran Bull, who's saying hello to all of us, I believe, there. Sorry, Kieran, I ain't got my glasses on. I struggle at the best of times. Some rando called Toy Polloi. Don't know who that is, but they've jumped in the chat. So hello to them.
Kick him off.
Kick him out. Ban him. Boot him. Oh, we've been joined by Lewis of Reading Movies as well. Says, hello, Action Popcast. Hello, Lewis. Good to see you this evening. Thank you for popping along. Oh, who else have we got? Oh, yes, Gerard O'Connor. Sup, Gerard? Good to see you. To quote Marilyn Manson, the beautiful people, how the F you all doing? We're doing well. We are doing well. And we've also been joined by Coxie's Toy Cantina. Evening, APC. Dave and chat. Evening. Thank you for joining us. Oh, top chap here, Andy HHHDX, top man. Go check out his channel, Tech Reviews, awesome stuff. Helped me out with my setup. Please do go and check him out. He's awesome. Oh, blooming heck, we've got more in. We've been joined by Gilista. Hey, Gil, how are you doing? Good to see you in the chat. That's awesome. Oh, there he is, Shabby Geek himself. He says, hey, everyone. Hey, Shabby. Good to see you. Good to see you indeed. And I think we've hit the end of the list. If I've missed anyone, just shout me out and call me an idiot. I will bring you up. But I will say hello to anyone as they come on in. But yeah, no, we've had a good turnout this evening, Dave. I can't grumble at that.
Nice to see so many people here.
Yeah, it's excellent. Oh, I don't think I did say hello to this person. I may have, I may not have done. Pod Racing Palpatine, the Emperor. How are you, man? And we've also been joined by Dude. God, that's a great screen name. Good to see you.
I believe that is Heath, who's a friend of Toy Polloi for certain, but I'm sure he'll watch your videos as well.
Ah, excellent. Well, you are welcome anytime to the channel, and thank you for joining in. So, right, here we go. Should we get into it, Dave? We've got to get into it, haven't we? So,
definitely. That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for. Battle Beyond the Stars, 1980. Bit of an awesome cast. I've already brought this up, but I shall bring it up again in case anyone missed it at the beginning. Here's some artwork of the couple of film poster variations. Very of its era, very 80s. And I'm going to say to you, Dave, I know you sort of gave your reasons as to why you picked this film. And maybe I wasn't listening, or maybe you didn't say, did you catch this at the cinema as a kid?
No, I think I was too young. 1980, I would have been 6. So I think it was just before, I really started going to the cinema. I didn't see Star Wars at the cinema, so I think I saw Empire Strikes Back. So, right sort of era. But this one I didn't see. This I definitely saw after the A-Team had hit the TV. So the A-Team, I think, was 1983, 84ish, like that. So
okay,
that was Saturday afternoon telly watching for me. Every time it came on, sit watching the A-Team, and so you knew all of the A-Team characters. And George Peppard was obviously Hannibal Smith in. I was going to say Hannibal Lecter. He was Hannibal Smith in the A-Team, and so as soon as I think this came onto TV, and I saw that it was he was starring in it, that's what sort of piqued my interest, because it's like I like him in the A-Team. I didn't know anything about his acting career. I didn't know he had been a big Hollywood star. I just knew him as Hannibal. That was it. So as soon as this movie sort of came on, and I saw that he was in it, it's like I had to watch it. But I was also big into space movies at that time because of things like Star Wars and Buck Rogers, Battlestar Galactica. I remember seeing The Black Hole at the cinema, which I think is a couple of years after this. So it was that sort of sci-fi, anything fantasy, anything like Krull or Hawk the Slayer or anything like that, I loved watching. And so this, as soon as it was on telly, I watched it, and I think I was hooked straight away.
So when I watched this, obviously it would have been silly of me not to watch this, being as we were going to cover it. And I'm just going to I've written a quick plot for anyone who maybe hasn't seen it in the audience. It says, the film follows Shad, a young farmer from a peaceful planet Akir, who recruits a motley crew of mercenaries to defend his world from the tyrannical Sador and his massive starships, the Stellar Converter. So that's a very brief explanation. All the information I found online, this is basically a retelling of the Magnificent Seven, or Seven Samurai in space.
It's a very sort of standard story. Evil person wants to destroy or take over a planet. The planet is, peaceful, so they have to go and round up some sort of friends to try and stop it. And it's not the most complicated of stories. It's very Star Warsy as well. In everything about it. It's a sort of I would say it's actually a homage of so many movies. There are so many. Movies that you can reference in it, but it
the first shot.
Oh, the first shot is just Star Wars. It's
Start
like
the massive ship flying over the top. I was watching
Yeah.
it with Mrs. APD, Carla.
Yeah.
And I was like, Star Wars!
Yeah,
Immediately.
yeah. It's a complete rubber. There are things in it like Shad's outfit that he wears. He's got sort of wearing a beige sort of. It's almost a uniform, but if you sit standing by a colonial warrior from Battlestar Galactica, they all wear this sort of same beige outfit, and I think that is a sort of a copy of that. The ship, Nell, the big the ship with the rather obvious bosom, shall we say, has a computer in it that talks called Nell, but that I think is a copy of Zen from Blake Seven. Even the way it looks in the movie, in Battle Beyond the Stars, Nell is a sort of a load of lights in a sphere with bits sort of cut out of it that sort of flash when she talks. And Zen in Blake Seven, the computer on the Liberator, is a load of flashing lights on a sort of circle thing. It's very. As I say, it's a homage to so many things all pulled into one movie.
It's got all those sci-fi tropes in it, hasn't it? And it fits right in. I mean, the thing I would say about this movie, before I go into a few of the facts and figures, budget and what have you, you watch it and it's got that sci-fi feel. But what I would say about Nell, and this is going to bring up another one of the characters because it's just how my slides are arranged. So Nell is the ship here on the right, the ship.
Yeah, the ship with the what now?
What now? Hey now. Hey Nell, you're on show. And I don't want to say it's surprising, but it's got that real sort of that traditional sci-fi feel. But then you get the sort of wisecracking, sarcastic Nell. Yeah. And it does. It certainly has elements to it that you would never find in a Star Wars or a Star Trek. It's a bit more wisecracking, a bit more.
It's got a bit of a joke to it, and I think that some of the characters, certainly the cowboy, is quite a jokey character. And is his name I've forgotten his name. Getz, or the sort of the real Gelt. Sorry, I forgot his name. Yeah, he is a very strange sort of. You've got no sympathy for him as a character. Really weird sort of guy. They're all a weird mixture, but I think they all work in the sense of this movie.
They do work. I am going to go into the cast in a moment, but as we're here with talking characters, I just as well bring up the slides I've got to give people an idea. So you've got your main character there, Shad, John Boy Walton. That's where most people would know him from. Nanelia, the lady of the first people he approaches for help. Yeah. Interestingly, in the film, her father, who is cyborg, wants to make them mate. I mean, and is very direct about it and pretty much locks them in a room together like, oh, this will be fun for my daughter.
That's the other thing. There's some really weird sort of like, the ship is quite a sexual ship, shall we say, but also these two relationship, there's that strange bit sort of later on, do you have kissing in your world sort of thing? And then she kisses him and then just sort of completely ignores him. It's like it's just weird. It's a very strange sort of concept.
It is.
I think when I saw it, I would have been 9. So to me, probably all of these things I missed. They sort of completely passed me by. The things I really remember are things like Nestor eating the sausage, which is that shot that you have there.
And that's purposely why I picked this shot, because you told me about this before I watched it.
Yeah, do you know what? That whole scene of him eating the sausage has been in my memory for all of those years. And every time I think of this film, the first thing I think of is not Sybil Danning's outfit, which clearly is quite a memorable outfit, is Nestor eating a sausage.
There was a comment earlier, and I think it was Palpatine. Saying that there's 2 reasons to watch this film: Sybil Danning and Sybil Danning. So I mean, as you can see there, she's dressed to impress. That's how I'll word it.
That is the more sedate outfit that she wears. The second outfit, you probably don't have a picture of the second outfit. The second outfit is even like it's. From watching it recently, it's mystifying how it stays on as because I make a lot of capes and things like that for action figures. I think, how on earth does that thing even stay up? It's gravity defying.
Oh, absolutely. And so next to Sybil Danning there, Saint Exmin, she's from a warrior race, Valkyrie type people, in for a fight. And she wants to join the fight, even though Shad doesn't want her to, but she just sort of tags along and gets involved. But yeah, Nestor is the strange character, because for anyone who hasn't seen it, Nestor is a shared consciousness among many, many beings. And as Dave said about the scene there, as you can see there, he's not smoking a cigar. This is a scene when Cowboy gives them
a hot dog,
a sausage to try, and the one in the front eats it, and all the others mimic the movement because it's a shared consciousness, and it's really bizarre. So Nestor 1 was played by a chap called Earl Bowen, and Nestor 2, I've only got the list of these two, is John Gowans. So
yeah, I don't think the other Nestors actually get named at all, or like the actors. I had a quick look up as well, because there's 5 of them featured in this movie, and it's only the first 2 that actually sort of get any sort of credits. The other ones are obviously just sort of background actors that they've dressed up in the same outfit.
And as I've named the cast there, jumping back to the first slide, Richard Thomas as Shad, famous for the Waltons, and Nanalia there is played by Darlene Flugel. Now you'll have to forgive me for my absolute terrible pronunciation of names, but to jump into because there's 7 mercenaries, to jump in there, we've got one you've already mentioned, Gelt there. He's sort of a hitman, isn't he? For hire.
Yeah, he is a
played by Robert Vaughn.
A mercenary who seems to have the death sentence everywhere. And he's on a planet surrounded, on a planet on his own, I think, but surrounded by all of the wealth and things that he's stolen, living a very, boring life. And there's a strange shot when you actually go, when Shad goes to visit him the first time, because he sort of goes onto this planet and he's underground and goes past this computer thing that sort of shows him. It's like I don't know. He gets to choose a woman, doesn't he? And it's like a sort of computer. It's sort of showing him holographic versions of these people that he can choose, and he chooses one, and it opens up, and it's just sort of hideously disfigured, like
decayed. Age has taken its toll. Yeah, it's horrible.
That's what I mean. It's a very strange film because it's full of these. They're quite good, clever ideas, and they're not really expanded on. It's just these weird little shots that are sort of put together. I think that's why I think I like it so much. But the mercenaries you've got on the screen there, the Cayman and the Kelvins. The Kelvins are fantastic.
They were my 2 favourite characters in the whole film, especially their final sacrifice, should we say, when they ran out of energy.
They're creatures that don't have any ears and they don't speak. They communicate via temperature. Again, which is a fantastic idea. It's like I'm only guessing that they came up with that idea because they wanted some way of destroying something later on in the film. And it's like, well, we need something that does this. Let's make an alien that it does.
Well, you're first introduced to that when they approach Nanalia, and she's like, they're burning me, and then Cayman, who's played by Morgan Woodward, says they communicate with thermal signatures or words to that effect, and they're such bizarre little creatures, but they're very cool.
Do you have a picture of the other guy that's on that ship with Cayman and the Kelvins? The sort of muscle guy.
Do you know what? My bad. No, the barbarian guy. Yeah. I'm sorry. No, I didn't get one.
I can't remember his name, but he doesn't speak. He's just a sort of muscle-bound guy. It looks a little bit like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Very Conan-esque, isn't it? Very.
And he doesn't really do a great deal in the movie. He just sort of is lumbering. That's
probably why I didn't include him on the slides, because he's sort of in it, and then he's not. And of course, we go on to the final mercenary, and that is Cowboy by George Peppard. So. What more can you say?
No, and he is another one. I think that's another line that I remember having watched this movie in the playground the next day at school, quoting him, because there's a bit right at the start when you first meet Cowboy. He's a sort of a trucker, isn't he? He hauls things across the universe, and he is being attacked by some other ships that you don't actually ever find out about, and he's about to be killed. And he's sort of sitting in his cabin playing a harmonica.
drinking whiskey and
drinking
soda.
whiskey, and he's going, he goes, Mayday, Mayday, SOS, help! Like, but it's just done in a really sort of crappy, weird way. And I remember at school the next day, like we were all doing that sort of thing of going, Mayday, help! Like it's like it's a nothing line. It's such a throwaway line, but for kids, that and the sausage seemed to be that's what we remembered.
Well, I mean, they stood out to me. So we've gone through the main characters and cast. I just want to jump back into the chat now, just to say hello to a few more people who have arrived and bring up a few more comments. Gerard O'Connor says, Dave, may I say that I'm a massive fan of your content work channel. You've got mad skills and fantastic energy vibrations. Makes watching so enjoyable. Awesome stuff, my man. So there's
thanks, Gerard. That's really kind of you.
That's from Gerard. Just jumping through, we've also been joined by Aisha. We've been joined by, who else? Oh, a long time ago, Martin. Hi all, just a quick flyby. Just about to board the plane. We'll catch up when we get home. Love this movie. So Martin from a long time ago podcast, he was on with me the other week doing Batman 89, and so was Adam, his co-host. We did Scott Pilgrim versus the World together. Please do check out their channels. Their channel, awesome stuff. But please do get them set. They're in America at the moment. They've just been to Disneyland for like 2 weeks, Dave. They've had a ball of a time.
Nice,
I can tell by their Instagram. What have we got here from reading movies? I can bet Corman / Cameron were not even aware of Blake Seven, let alone take ideas from it. Possibly not.
Hard to know. I think those sorts of things. You know, that I think they would have been aware of it. It may be even that some special effects people who worked on those things ended up working on that movie, because those sorts of people travel around a lot. But I'm sure there must be some link there. They're so similar in design, those two computers. I think there is.
There's lots of things in it. Also, a quick hello here to Rolando Flores. Just while I scan through, just something to throw at you now, Dave. See, I said to you when I watched it, I texted you and I said, oh, it looks like Shad's wearing what Luke Skywalker wore on Bespin. Yeah. And what was it you pointed out to me? Because, I mean, this is more in your era of films.
I think it's Battlestar Galactica. I think as I said earlier, that I think that outfit is a sort of, basically the Colonial Warriors outfit. They wear this sort of beige sort of jacket and trousers, and it looks to me, it almost looks like it's the same material. So it could be that they got the same costume house to make these sorts of things. That is very similar. And I did notice when watching it recently, it's a very minor thing, but the Shad's gun, like, you don't see it very often. It's clearly a very plasticky gun. It's not like it's not a particularly well made prop. But I reckon the end of the barrel is the end of Han Solo's gun, the toy version of Han Solo's gun. It's exactly the same shape.
I did see a close-up of it, and it has got that Star Wars-esque look to it. Just to bring up another comment from Lewis here. Nestor 1, Earl Byrne, is Dr. Silberman in Terminator films? Yes, absolutely is.
Oh, right.
Absolutely is.
Yes, definitely. Well, there you go. There's a James Cameron link.
Yep, and there'll be more James Cameron links coming up. But also a quick hello to Mr. B, who's popped in this evening. What's it here? Palp says, Cayman and the Kelvins was the name of my high school band. True story.
That's brilliant.
Excellent. Brilliant. That is a brilliant thing. And Dude puts, I definitely remember the eating scene, but I will definitely rewatch it soon. It's a trippy scene, man. It's so trippy.
It's a weird thing. That's what I mean about this movie. Like, Star Wars, I remember loads about Star Wars, but this movie, there's only, I can say, 3 or 4 things that really have stuck in my mind for years. And even when I watched it twice in the last couple of weeks because I knew I was coming on here, and it's still those few little bits that stick out in my mind. Space Cowboy eating the sausage. There's a bit later on in the film which uses Nestor as well, which is towards the end. Are we going to spoil the movie for everybody?
I think given that we are 44 years after release, I think it's fair to say we can get away with spoilers.
If you haven't seen it, don't listen to this next bit. But there's a bit when the bad guy, I've forgotten his name as well, even though I've watched it recently. Sador. He has a sort of gammy hand, so they cut off his hand and replace it with one of Nestor's hands. You can actually see it in that shot there. And so he's got this new, like, two-fingered white hand, but then the rest of Nestor try and control it and grab a knife from his belt and then try and control it to cut his head off. And again, that is such a clear memory, and I remember it being a far more sort of gruesome scene. Actually, the bit when they cut his hand off is sort of quite gruesome. It's quite they've got this sort of futuristic chainsaw, like with lights and stuff, that cuts off Nestor's hand. And it's got, like,
because
as a child, it's like, well, that's quite grim. It's quite
because that Nestor just dies because they can't tolerate pain. If I recall,
Yeah.
that's their thing.
Yeah, they're trying to sort of interrogate him and get some information out of him, whereas the other Nestors are just using him as a way of looking in to see what's going on. But yeah, so he
Because
just
they always
dies.
fly in fives. They keep one spare, if I recall what they said.
That's right. But but that whole scene of cutting the hand off and it's a very clear memory to me of him, and then it being controlled and trying to cut his throat. It being controlled and trying to cut his throat.
I think the reason I picked that shot with the arm was because I think when we met up last time, when this movie was pitched, you said certain scenes to me, and it stuck out in my head. Because I will say that this film is very, very easy to find in 4K on YouTube if you want to watch it, the full version.
That's what amazed me. That's where I watched it recently. I was thinking, I'll have to buy it from somewhere. It's on YouTube in multiple versions, like really good quality versions.
And it's really good quality as well. Yeah. Really good quality. Yeah. I just want to read out Lewis's comment. Quopeg is the name of Cayman's sidekick. The name is a play on Moby Dick character.
The muscle-bound guy, yes. He doesn't have much of a role in it. I think it's one of those things I sort of thought they'd put that in because they've got Sybil Danning there as the sort of the eye candy for the men. They possibly thought we need eye candy for the ladies. Which they did sort of do that a bit in those days. It's a bit of a strange...
Another comment of Lewis's I like here. Don't worry about spoilers. The original trailer shows you all the characters that die.
Yeah, but again, that is not a spoiler. Everybody that you see in the movie by the end of it is dead. The only people that are not dead are Shad
and Analia.
Everybody else, it doesn't matter who you like in that film. They kill everybody off. There's not. And I always found that a strange thing to do in a movie because you hope that there's going to be a sequel, and there was a lot of characters in there to like, especially Space Cowboy and that. And it's like, no, we're just going to we'll kill everybody. And the other weird thing, having only watched it recently, you said, don't you think it ends rather abruptly? Really
abruptly. Like, just boom, cut.
That's it.
There's the credits, roll credits.
I was wondering if that's a sort of budgetary thing that they sort of completely ran out. Maybe they were hoping to do something. I did read, I think you probably read it as well, that most of the budget went on George Peppard and who else would have been expensive?
Who was? Let me just get my notes back up there. Robert Vaughn, I believe. Was,
yeah. I imagine those two were probably they were probably the most expensive people. I can't imagine John by Walton cost a lot.
An excellent segue there provided by yourself. So I can go into a few details of budget and stuff now. So the film was produced by Roger Corman's New World Pictures. The film was released in September 1980, was September 8th to be precise. The budget of the movie was $2 million. I've not adjusted these figures. This was back then. And at the box office, it took $7.5 million. So it was considered a financial success given its the budget, but that's very low budget.
But that's a good return. I bet most movies these days don't make 4 times what they cost. It's that's a
100%. It was written by a chap called John Sayles, and he's known for The Howling, Piranha, Howling 1981, Piranha 1978, 8 Men Out 1988. As I say, it was produced by Roger Corman. Known very much for being a guy who is very strict on the budget, very tight budget, very efficient movie maker.
He is. And if you watch that movie and if you watched any of his other movies, you'll have seen many of the special effects shots again and again. He reuses anything he does, he will reuse it over and over.
Well, being ultra prepared, he says, as he scrolls for that, I have listed...
Oh, you've got a list? Oh, brilliant.
I've got a list somewhere, and this is where one day I'll just give in. I will just give in and get glasses, Dave, because I can barely see my screen.
Would you like me to lend you a pair? Because I have multiple pairs here. I've got my I can see the monitor computer glasses on, as opposed to my everyday walk around the house and don't hit things glasses.
Well, I could probably do with something or another. So recycled shots. Here we go. So apparently, what I haven't got here is a list of shots they've used in this film. But this film, they actually reused shots for Space Raiders in 1983, which came after. Almost all spaceship footage was recycled. Galaxy of Terror in 1981 and Forbidden World in 1982. Visual effects repurposed for futuristic aesthetics. And that's the ones I got there. And that leads into the other little nugget there, because we had the Terminator link earlier. The model work in this film was done by James Cameron, and really detailed model work. And that became one of the hallmarks, they say, of Corman's style for these films. So James Cameron getting an early lead in the film industry there.
I think you can also there were a couple of shots in the movie, some of the special effects shots. You can see that he's reused those ideas in things like Terminator and Aliens. There's definitely some sort of crossover in the style of the shooting and some of the sorts of the atmospherics for the shots. There's one there's one shot, I think, of Nell flying over a landscape, and that, which when you watch it, yeah, that could just be Aliens. It's the same sort of setup and the same sort of aesthetic. I think, you can you see that a lot with directors and things, that they have a style, and it's clearly what they like doing. But yeah, I never knew it was James Cameron, obviously, until many years later, because who knew who James Cameron was? I don't think he had a big, he obviously hadn't been directing anything by that point, because Terminator is 84, I think, isn't it? Something like that. So,
84, 84, I believe Terminator was. I'm sure someone will correct us very quickly if we've got that wrong. But Terminator's a long time back. Another interesting fact from Lewis. Now, Lewis knows his movies. Reading movies is his channel name. This is his bag. He really does know his stuff, and I love it when he comes in the chat. But interesting fact from Lewis is writer John Sayles hates science fiction, which is why I think the characters are quite unusual and original, which is...
It could be, because I don't think it's, the story could be it's an any story. It doesn't matter that it's set in a sci-fi world. It's just about, bringing people together, as it's Magnificent Seven. I'm guessing it was just sci-fi because sci-fi was so popular at the time.
I can see that, because Lewis says here, I have the DVD and Blu-ray original screenplay making of, but prequel comic. I'm a big fan of this movie.
Does he have the original soundtrack on vinyl?
Let's make you solo layout there.
This is something I picked up. I'm going to say 25 or more years ago. Found it on eBay for £5, and it was in such good condition. I bought a load of stuff off the guy selling it, because he had things like the Battlestar Galactica soundtrack and that, and it's really good. It's really nice to have something with the artwork on the front of it. It's also got some quite cool pictures on the back of the various scenes from it. But it did have one extra thing, which I was really quite chuffed when it turned up. Whoever I bought this off was clearly a fan, because they had cut some pictures out and stuck them on the inner sleeve. So we've got a picture there of Sybil Danning, which I'm going to guess is cut from a newspaper, but it's a nice full body shot of her in that outfit. And then a page here, which I believe is from Starlog, showing the main spaceship, which again is actually quite a nice shot, because you get to see quite a lot of detail of how that model was put together. This is the only thing I have for Battle Beyond the Stars. I've never managed to get any other sort of collectibles from it, just this, which is good enough on its own.
Yeah, and just a comment there, Kieran says they all die. Well, it's a remake of the Magnificent Seven. Yeah, absolutely, I see that. But given the era and time it was, and given how a lot of properties wanted to get toy lines out and sequels were a thing, I think it was probably quite bold of them to actually follow through with the killing of the characters, because that it is very, very final, isn't it?
It is. It's not. It doesn't lend. It's like most movies end, and you think, oh, you could do a sequel. There could be something going on. But in that one, even like the spaceship is a big thing. That Nell as the spaceship is a really big part of that movie, and she's destroyed at the end of it because she is used to destroy the enemy ship, and she sort of saves the day because she's mortally damaged and her memory core is damaged, so they blow her up, and it's like, but that is that's the big part of the movie, is this ship, because it's Shad's relationship not only with the other characters but his relationship with Nell and talking to her and interacting with her.
It's quite a sad sentiment in it as well, when Nell's damaged. And Nell was voiced by, my notes here say, Lynn Carlin, a lady called Lynn Carlin. It's quite sad because the name escapes me now of the previous owner of Nell, but she reverts back and Zed, thank you. She thinks that Shad is Zed.
Yeah.
And it's quite sad. It's almost like the things people witness with elderly relatives with certain things.
It's certainly a sort of a nod to dementia, because there's also a bit right at the end when they ask her to do a countdown, and she can't do that. It sort of goes 10, 9, 13, 24, and it sort of gets all of the numbers wrong, and it is quite a poignant thing, because Nell is a big character in that movie. It's a real personality, and she's been damaged in trying to save the planet, and she's damaged, sort of mortally damaged. I think the end of that film is really, as a kid, it's like, it's quite depressing. Everybody's died. All the people I wanted to win have died, and then it's just end credits. Like, there's no triumphant. It's not like, at the end of Star Wars, when they've destroyed the Death Star, they have that sort of, everyone's given awards, and it's quite a sort of joyous end to it. They've destroyed the Death Star, everyone's cheering. It's a really happy sort of thing. The end of this movie, it's like, oh, okay, bye.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm going to jump into a few comments again quickly, but one thing I will say in this film, while I was watching it, and I was watching Sador, I don't know why my brain didn't click, but I'm watching going, where do I know him from? Where do I know him from? Where do I know him from? Where do I know this guy from? Bloody Return of the Dragon.
He's one of those. He's a classic villain actor, isn't he? You've seen him in many things. It's like they could have chosen Michael Ironside or someone like that, because he's that sort of that same like tortured brow, always looks a bit nasty. I think he's just a classic evil character actor.
Yeah, got that look, got that very cool. Just it's a badass. I mean, yeah. Jumping back on John Saxon, known for Enter the Dragon, and I watch this, then I do my research. Also, Nightmare on Elm Street, other things, The Electric Horseman. So I just wanted to bring that in. And jumping back into comments here, Gil says, Toy Polloi, you're the very first YouTube video I watched and led me to an amazing community, and thank you. So
that's really nice. I'm glad I've brought you into this strange world.
Strange world we all here, but no, it is a great community, and it's built up lovely over the years. So Kieran Ball says, hit that like button, you Muppets. Yes, Kat, who presents with me once a month on one of these, always tells me off for not promoting myself, so please do hit the like button if you enjoy this, and if you're not subscribed, if you like the channel, feel free to subscribe.
The button's down here somewhere.
Do that. I get told off for not doing that. You even made me a thing for the corner of my channel, Dave, so I've got a proper branded APC thing now that should be popping up in the corner of your screen, if you can see it.
Hit subscribe. It helps everyone out, that's the thing. Hit subscribe and like. Always like people's videos, because it gets more people to see them.
We've also been joined by Skunkworks Studios. Hey, good to see you. Cheers from across the pond, boys. Good to see you. Thanks for popping in. Oh. We've also been joined by the one, the only Delvian Seek. Says, hey, all, sorry I'm late. You're all good. Nothing to worry about there. We've been joined by Mr. VTR himself, Vintage Toy Rush, the other Dave who repairs toys and collects toys. Lots of Daves in this community.
We're spreading. That's the thing.
You'll become your own like race of nesters soon, won't you? You'll have a shared consciousness.
Exactly. Every time I fix a toy, Dave learns it sort of a distance away. Likewise, when he fixes a toy, I miraculously have a new ability just appears in my mind.
Yeah, you're just a shared consciousness of toy repair. So, All right, let me just have a quick flick down, see if there's anything. Lots of people saying hello. Oh, another comment from Lewis. Let's read this. Lewis always has great comments. My copy of the screenplay features a final scene of half of the people and the Akir leave because the violence of war changes the population. That's interesting.
Even more bleak. It destroys their planet, even though they've saved it. Yeah, so it's a very dark film, really. I think it's deep.
It's a
deeper
dark
than
film
it looks.
dressed up in 80s campy sci-fi.
Yeah. Because, like, for me, this film, when I think of this film, I also think of Flash Gordon. I know you've covered Flash Gordon before here.
Mm-hmm.
It's that, I think, because I probably would have seen them around the same sort of time. And Flash Gordon it's not, like, Flash Gordon is a very campy aesthetic, and the look of it is completely different. But as a kid, it's just another sci-fi movie, and it's spaceships, and it's battles, and it's fighting, and it's weird creatures. And I think Flash Gordon has an awful lot of weird looking creatures, like the little lizard men and stuff, which obviously we have here as well in Battle Beyond the Stars.
Well, if my memory serves, actually, while Action Pop Kid or Jax, as he's called, I think actually while he was absolutely chewing your ear off and not giving himself a second to breathe, I think he was mentioning it, and I think you actually brought this up because you said, "Oh, you've done Flash Gordon," and didn't that inspire? That was what helped you pick this, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, because there's you said pick a movie, and there's a few movies I would have picked. Flash Gordon would have been my top pick, but you'd already done it. Then it's things like Tron. I think are really classic movies. Battlestar Galactica is a sort of movie, but it's not really. And then this is just another favourite of mine. It's one. I sort of, they are all linked together, I guess, because I saw them all at that sort of same age. Early, sort of between the ages of like 8 and 12 or something. I think there's movies that you see then that you will love forevermore. It doesn't matter how good they are. It's not about how good they are. It's about the age you are when you see them, and they become ingrained in your mind.
I've just got to bring something up. Sorry to jump in here. Now, this is a Star Wars picture. Now, there's relevance to this. So, Jax, my boy, will watch this inevitably because you were on it. This is another reason why I'm really watching my language this evening, so it's all safe to watch. But he took a toy out today that you gave him, and he got very excited because it was snowy, and he wanted me to show you this picture. So sorry to go off subject here, but
that's all right.
This is my 10-year-old, and I think the guys in the community will appreciate this. It snowed outside today. He ran upstairs to get a toy to make this picture, and here we go.
Ah, brilliant. Yeah, that's what you have to do with all Hoth-based figures. I'm waiting for it to snow here. I've been collecting my Rebel Hoth army for the last couple of years, waiting for more snow. Good
so
boy.
There you go,
that's
Jax.
what he's done.
As promised, here is your picture. Here is Luke on Hoth. That's actually the roof of our car.
Right.
Probably scratched the bloody paint doing that. But no, there you go. So sorry to jump from this to Star Wars, but I would not have been forgiven if I did not show that picture.
That is what you should be doing with toys, and that's what I still do here. I have things I'm waiting around for certain things to happen. Snow is always a good thing. I have a selection of Tauntauns down to my right here, and I have a Rebel transport absolutely filled with Hoth Rebels, which I want to do something with next time it snows. So I will be doing exactly the same. Don't you worry.
There you go. And I think between you and me, I think with the toys, my spares and the toys you've given him, he must have a good 40 of the original run of the Kenner Star Wars figures. He's doing well. He's doing really well.
That's a good collection. He'll have the full set before you know it. Even the last 17, I'm sure.
It's just when my pop-up lightsaber R2 went missing because I left it on the coffee table, and then I found it a few weeks later in his toy box.
Ooh.
Oh, wow, it's a toy.
Yeah, it's
a toy. It got played with, didn't it?
Yeah,
That's what it's about, isn't it?
It's been played with before, so it's just got a little bit more playware on it now.
Absolutely. I mean, it's an absolute beater of a figure anyway. And it, if anything, what a great thing a kid got to play with a thing for what it was made for again, rather than me just sticking it. Well, it's currently in a Tupperware container, but there we go.
Exactly. If it's not in a box, it needs to be played with.
There we go. Right. Okay. So where were we? So we've sort of, for the film now, so we've sort of gone through the basics of the plot, and you've spoken about the sausage scene, which sounds a bit dodgy.
Yeah, let's call it
The
a hot
arm
dog.
scene.
Yeah.
But are there any other? You saying about scenes that stand out? You see the sort of James Cameron model influence. Are there any other scenes that sort of jump out to you that when you were watching it again, where you thought, I can see how this is bled into other movies, or any other scenes that you just like because they're cool?
I think there's a lot of cool things. I like the right at the start of the movie, they come along and say basically we're gonna take over your planet in it's like 7 days or something, isn't it? And then you've got 7 days to sort yourselves out. We're going away. We'll be back. And they leave a sort of a scout ship with two rather inept sort of pilots in it. I don't know if they're inept. They're just sort of a bit dim. These sort of pilots they've both got like big scars across their faces.
They look a bit like Worf, but a bit more warped from TNG.
I never really understood if they all like naturally were born with scars across their face, because all of that whatever race it is all have these sort of big wounds across their faces. But they're these rather inept sort of like guards, I suppose. But then they transport up a woman to rape her on the ship, which I mean it's really quite like, it's not a kids' film. There's bits, and that is quite a dark thing to do. There's a wedding going on, and they go down and during the wedding I think they sort of teleport up the bride of this wedding, and then you don't really see her again. But there's a bit later on when they're being attacked, and that bride, that woman sort of comes out and disrupts what they're doing, and sort of sacrifices herself to sort of to save the planet. But it's very bleak. I never noticed that as a child, that was what was going on. But when you watch it again, it's like she's clearly being beamed up and then raped, because one of them is at the sort of flying the ship, and the other one's in the background. Just sort of, there's lots of horrid noises going on. It's like, yeah, it's just really weird.
And that going back on it again, that's the thing about this. I'd forgotten that scene, but now you've said it. Yeah, I remember watching it. Well, all of
it's
a week or so ago, and being like,
PG
wow,
it's
you
a
went there.
PG-rated film. It's a PG-rated film. Like, and okay, there's no really violent thing. Apart from actually when Gelt dies, and he's got that sort of hideously burnt face. Like, you don't see much violence in it, but when he's all burnt up and dying, and they're sort of talking to him, and they say, and he dies, and they're like, oh yeah, now give him a 3-course meal because I promised that I'd bury him with this dinner. Sort of like, it's just...
Yeah, and just to bring up Lewis's comment there, I wasn't aware of this. That wasn't just any woman they kidnapped. It was Shad's sister. The screenplay points this out.
I don't think that's made clear in the film then, because it's someone, it's a wedding going on. So it's even.
I didn't pick up on that, but it's a really dark scene, and because she does something to make them crash the ship, though, doesn't she?
That's right. They're being chased. I think they are being chased by Nell, aren't they? And Shad in the ship, and she then sort of comes out of the back of the ship and starts sort of messing with the controls, and so at that point they then Shad manages to shoot that ship out of the sky. So they all of the she dies. So basically Shad is then killing his sister. I guess he doesn't know that he's doing that, but again, that's not clear in the movie. But so he kills his sister and destroys that ship, which is the sort of the early warning ship to let them know that something else is happening. But it is an incredibly bleak film when you rewatch it as an adult. Everybody dies. People are raped and murdered, and it's like, but it is a PG film, so strange.
Yeah, and I've got another thing I put here. I put in my notes. I think that despite the budget, they did really well with the space battles. Like, I didn't look at it and go, "Oh, this is." It looked as good to me as anything else from that era. I don't think it looked terrible at all.
I think they've done a pretty good job of it. Some of the shots are a little bit on the ropey side and a little bit sort of weird, but again, as an overall film, I think most of the effect shots are pretty impressive. And I always, when I watch it again now, the amount of different spaceships they had to design, like when you watch Star Wars and that, there's the core spaceships, there's just lots of duplications. So there's lots of X-wings, there's lots of TIE fighters. It's just, a couple of types of spaceship. In this, there are
G-force.
Evening. There are so many different styles of ship. You've got the main sort of Star Destroyer type thing, which I think they call the Hammerhead. So it does have a big sort of front to it.
Mm-hmm.
They have these little sort of fighter ships, which are quite insecty like, sort of little clawed things. Then obviously you've got Nell, the very buxom ship. You've got the UFO for Nestor. You've got Space Cowboy's ship. Every single ship has a very distinctive style to it, and it must have taken them a long time to just to model all of this stuff. You can see a lot of budget going in, making models for this movie.
You bringing up Cowboy, actually, just something I wanted to bring up in the conversation as well was when you're watching it, it's set in space, an area you don't know a time, you don't know anything about that. It's not a long time ago or whatever. But the character of Cowboy was quite interesting to me because I'm first watching it thinking, why is there a cowboy in space?
Yeah.
Why is there what is this? And then he starts talking about all the old Western movies and whatnot. And then you realise, well, he is from Earth.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so is this going on close to Earth? What maybe in the screenplay, maybe in other stuff like what Lewis collects, maybe there's a bit more information there, but there's no real. I couldn't really pinpoint him.
No, there's no link to anything now. It could be, it could be any time. Again, I guess that's a Star Warsy type thing, isn't it? It's set in a galaxy somewhere, but he just happens to be an Earth-born person. But he could be someone in the future who just happens to like the Old West and watching old cowboy movies. There's no sort of backstory particularly to him. I do particularly like his belt, though, that you see that he has the little
with the whiskey and water on it.
The whiskey. He presses a button, and whiskey comes
and
out.
soda, even.
Presses another button, some soda, and then it presses another button, and ice cubes come out of it.
That's a great belt.
It's really sort of. I guess he is quite the comedy character in that movie. He's very dry, but he is.
So I'm going to bring him up and Nell up again. Why not? I've made the slides, but I found it quite hard to because like anyone, I find these pictures online. I don't sit there and screenshot from the film. But this was probably the best shot I could get of him that wasn't massively pixelated or not ideal for a slide. But yeah, he's very cool because and he's also, it falls through the deal he's doing with whoever he's supplying the arms to, the guns to and whatnot. And then he's just very sort of with Shad, well, they're paid for, you can have them. So, he's not even a bad character trying to make an extra buck. He's like, well, I can help you. I can come down. I can sort of show people stuff.
He's a sort of likable rogue trader, isn't he?
Absolutely.
I think isn't what happens that he is taking arms to a planet that is then destroyed by
Sador and that.
By Sador before he gets there. So he's actually taking arms there to help, or he's delivering arms to them already. So in the end, those arms go to help Shad and that try and stop Sador again. I think he's a very likable character. And I never knew. That's the thing. I never knew he was a big actor as a kid. I didn't know he was quite a big actor. So it is probably quite a come down for him from doing things. He's most famous for the A-Team, I think, but he's probably most famous for Breakfast at Tiffany's and things like that. He was a very big actor. So to then be asked to do what is a relative B-movie space opera type thing was probably a bit of a sort of kick in the teeth for him.
Quick hello to Ricardo there. Hello there.
It's probably a bit of a kick in the teeth to him to be sort of cast in, or to be asked to act in this movie. And I guess that's why he charged a lot of money.
Maybe it shows. Maybe I need to just watch more films. But it's like I say it's a funny thing that comes up. People say to me, "How have you not seen this film?" I have seen thousands upon thousands of films. But the thing is, like anyone, there's only so many films we all see, and we all sort of go a certain direction with what we watch, and. Yeah, so I honestly hadn't. I only know him from the A-Team prior to this.
No, that's how I knew him as a child. The A-Team was such a big part of my childhood, and I think it was a big part of a lot of people, born roughly when I was born. It was definite Saturday night viewing.
I was born 84, and A-Team was still playing on, I think it was ITV
Must have
over
been,
here in
yeah.
the UK in the early 90s. And I believe Saturday nights were A-Team and Knight Rider and then Baywatch, if I recall. It was very American, was
Yeah.
our TV in
But
the
it was-
90s.
In the 80s, there was I think even in the 80s there was a lot less choice of what you could watch, and so the 18 was a definite sort of evening view, Saturday early evening viewing, and movies. If you didn't go to the movie to see a film, you had to wait till it was on TV, and I would imagine that this probably would have been a Christmas movie, the sort of thing that would have been shown Christmas time.
I can see that. A Boxing Day special for me, that's what this
yeah.
would be.
And then you'd watch it. I can't believe in early 80s, my parents didn't have a video recorder. It wasn't a done thing. So you watched it, and that was it. You watched it once, and then you would hope that maybe next year or something it would be shown again so that you could watch it again. But chances are you probably never, I probably watched it that one time as a child, and then had to wait 4 years, and it would be shown again. It's...
Of course, yeah, no. And if you didn't have a VHS recorder or anything, and I don't know, maybe because I'm not a lot younger than you, though. To be fair, there's only 10 years in it.
Yeah, 10 years, but 10 years is as a child, 10 years is a big time, and it's a big time in sort of movie and movie styles. By the time
I always remember having a VHS video recorder, though. And I remember we did have a Betamax player that we owned one film for, which was Mary Poppins, but Dad just wouldn't get rid of it. So,
yeah, no, we didn't have a video recorder for a long time. I'm not sure if I told this story before. Anyway, my dad made our TV. This is how sort of weird my childhood. You could buy a kit to make a TV, and my dad was a big electronics nut, so he built our TV. It had valves and stuff in the back of it.
Oh,
So,
proper old school
so
TV.
you'd switch it on, and you'd wait. The sound would come on instantly, and you'd have to wait 3 or 4 minutes for the picture to arrive. And this was when there were only 3 TV channels, so BBC One, BBC Two, and ITV. And then Channel 4 came along, and my dad had to take the TV apart and rebuild the sort of front panel to add an extra button so that we could have Channel 4.
That's a great story, though. And I bet that TV lasted longer than any other modern TV you would ever buy.
It was there for years, and then even sort of later on, my dad made a remote control for it. But it wasn't really a remote control. The remote control didn't change the volume. It was just one button on a big thing that you pressed, and it would change the channel. If you wanted to change the volume, you had to go over to the TV.
So you could just sort of circulate through the channels.
You could circulate through the channels. It's just a weird thing. But yeah. So
with 4 channels, it's not too bad. Not like today's modern offerings.
No, you would be forever clicking away. But yeah, so TV was a real highlight, and movies especially as a child, they were a real highlight because you only got to watch movies that were on telly, or very occasionally we go to the cinema. I remember going to see Tron at the cinema and things like that, but my mum hated it. My mum had to take me and my brother. She hated it, so we didn't go to that many movies.
Well, to give you an idea of the age difference, the first ever film I saw at the cinema was Edward Scissorhands.
Oh God!
It was my first ever film at the cinema. So I'm just going to read this comment out from Coxie. I love that Dave has got those random Police Academy rubber handcuffs clinging to his shell. Didn't you get those at Shepton?
I did. Yeah, they were.
I think I might have even been with you that day.
I got them from Lawrence, Toy Planet UK. I'd seen them on his. I think I'd seen them on his Facebook page a few times.
I think even VTR may have been with us as well, if I recall.
It's one of those things. I don't really collect Police Academy stuff, but those hands, they're just such a weird thing. I had to buy them. And at some point, I will pass them on to someone who collects Police Academy. But for now, they just hang there because they're such an odd toy.
Mr. B, don't dare say what that ship looks like. Well, that ship very much looks like boobs. It's boobs. It's got boobies.
Yeah.
Let's just say it. Let's get it out there.
But I sort of get the feeling that is designed to look like the when you had an old wooden ship, back in the days of sailing on the sea, you always had those carvings on the front of ships that were women, that they were the sort of the protector of the ships. And they were generally, it was a woman looking out, and it was just sort of a fairly busty woman, on the front of the ship. And I sort of get the feeling that that is what they've gone for design-wise, that they've used that as a starting point to then design the ship from. So it's just a sort of homage to an old carving on a wooden ship. That's what I think anyway. I'm probably completely way off the mark, but I always get that feeling that that is what they're trying to sort of show. And then you've got the sort of the weird guns that do make it look a little bit like a hammerhead shark sort of thing. But I think it's sort of a homage to an old ship's carving.
I mean, the picture I've got here, I'll be honest, I couldn't find a decent still from the film to put on this. This is a model you can buy, I believe. You can buy this. This is just a model. But it was a good representation for the slide, so I went with it. But yeah, there's Nell in all her glory there, next to Cowboy.
Even if you look at the artwork on the front of this album, it's even sort of more pronounced because they've got a bit of detail here, which seems unnecessary. It's sort of it's quite clear what they are, but that little bit of detail there just sort of makes it that little bit more. I don't know. Space saucy, something like that.
Space saucy. That's the new term for this evening. Space saucy. As
opposed to a flying saucer, it's space saucy.
Excellent. So, and I'm still such a child. Kieran Bulls put a comment up here. It's interesting actually. He says, Peppard was in a lot of financial strife due to his divorce and left the hit TV show Bannockek, if I've read that wrong, Dave, perhaps correct me, to stop his wife getting his fortune. He did Battle Beyond the Stars to free up some money. Well.
The age-old thing of divorce meaning that someone has to do a role that they didn't particularly want to do.
It seems to be a thing in Hollywood, doesn't it? To be fair.
You see a lot of people doing movies to pay for something. Something's gone wrong. I wonder why he did the A-Team.
Adam.
The A-Team also seems a strange role for him, but then it was obviously a big role, and he clearly made a lot of money because the amount of series they did of the A-Team, and they must have made a fortune making those ones.
Coxie just put in here, the A-Team, Knight Rider, Street Hawk, Dukes of Hazzard, TJ Hooker, great viewing back then. Yeah.
Yep, loved all of those.
I didn't get all of those coming into the 90s. I don't recall ever watching, I'm not saying it wasn't on, but we didn't watch in our house. I don't recall ever watching Dukes of Hazzard with TJ Hooker. Very aware of them now due to pop culture and whatnot. And I think I already did it. But Evening to Adam, the Real Toy Dude. Not sure if I've said it already to you, but congratulations on your toy show the other week. It looks as though it was a massive success, so good on you for pursuing that, and hope to get to the next one. And someone else put another comment here saying, and don't forget this, but it's StreamYard, and it's always a pain in the backside, and it jumps around. And VTR says, was that a vinyl soundtrack for the film? Yes.
It was.
Indeed.
I can show you the vinyl part.
Show it again. We're here. Go for it.
There is actual vinyl. It's barely been played. I bought it because I really like the soundtrack to the movie. The soundtrack's another interesting one because it's done by James Horner, I think, isn't it?
Yep. And it was indeed, and there's a great segue to get into the music of this movie.
The interesting thing I like about this music is when you listen to it, it's got a very Star Trek-y vibe to it. And if you listen to Star Trek The Wrath of Khan, which he also wrote the music to, but that came out after this, it sounds almost identical. It's almost like he's a very lazy composer and decided that
well,
no one's going to notice if I copy that.
You have, I'll read out Lewis's comment in a moment, but my notes here say Horner's score, precursor to iconic works in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and he also did Titanic in '97. I'm sure he's done plenty of others, but they're the ones I grabbed up.
He has done many, but there's a definite connection between that and Star Trek The Wrath of Khan. It's the same instruments are used, the same weird noises. In Wrath of Khan, there's a whole sequence of them fighting in a nebula, and Khan they're sort of playing chicken essentially, like no one can see anyone else. It's a nebula that's knocked out all of their senses, and the music at that point and the weird noises that the nebula make, it's exactly the same. If you listen to the soundtrack of Battle Beyond the Stars, every sound is the same. It's like he's gone, right, this is the noise of space, I'm going to use it again. It's quite an interesting copy, shall we say?
I've put cool fact here because I write cool fact for things which I clearly just take off of Wikipedia or wherever I've read it. This was one of Horner's first major scores, establishing his reputation in sci-fi and epic storytelling.
Yeah.
So,
it's quite an epic sound. It's an epic soundtrack, and it's got a good, again, like movies of that era. It's got a memorable tune. You know, quite a lot of movies you watch these days. It's just you essentially call it background music. You know, it doesn't. There's nothing memorable. That one has a real tune to it that you can sing along to.
I am just going to read out Lewis's comment here, though, and I will say a couple of things. If I don't bring up your comment this evening, thank you for commenting. I read as many as I can, get as many as I can. And last week, there were some problems on the Highlander stream. Several people messaged me after, and they were posting comments, and their comments weren't coming up. Even Mrs. APD had that problem. So I didn't block anyone. I didn't do anything. It was just there's a YouTube or a StreamYard issue. Monkey Boy was affected by it. Kim Gonick was affected by it. My wife was affected by it. A few people did. So if you were commenting in the last show and your comments weren't coming up, I hope the issue's fixed now. I don't know where it stems from, but I am sorry about that. Internet, just thanks.
Computers playing mischief.
Yeah, and I suspect it was the computers at the servers of things and that. But yeah, I think I've already read this comment. Yeah, the original idea was to fire and shoot the lasers from the nipples. For now. So,
yeah, it's almost like that's a bit too sort of Benny Hill for this. But I guess, yeah, maybe they didn't. It was a sensible idea not to do that. You've gone for you've gone for a ship that essentially has boobs. Don't push it, I suppose.
But I will bring this comment up because I think I've got this somewhere in my notes. Again, another one of Lewis's comments. Lewis, I'm going to get you on for one of these shows, mate. I can't wait to do one of these with you because you'll be excellent. That's if you want to. But the invite is there, sir. It's an open invite. George Peppard was difficult to work with, apparently. But he did pay for the wrap party after shooting the movie. I did read that he was, should we say, he's no longer with us, passed a long time ago, was a little bit of a difficult character to work with. But that's nice that he paid for the wrap party, sort of make up for any things. But, if he'd just been going for a divorce and everything, the thing is, all these actors are just real people and people have... Some people, like in any job, some people are easier to work with than others.
Oh, so. Yeah, I think there's a lot of, that's the thing with actors, isn't it? They are actors for a reason, and they have a personality, and they have their own ways of working. I'm sure most of them are quirky to work with. I'm sure we all are, aren't we? We all have our ways of doing things that other people would find difficult. So yeah.
And another fantastic thing from Lewis. He says, if you watch the new Magnificent Seven, Denzel version, it was one of Horner's last movies. He reuses the same motif from the start of Battle Beyond the Stars main theme, kind of completed his circle of his career. That is a very interesting fact.
Yeah. So he's a man who likes a theme and sort of, sticks with it.
Well, Skunkworks says, we need you to do a Time Bandits episode. I'm up for anything. For anything.
That's what I'm saying. That sort of era of like early 80s, I think because of Star Wars, there were so many good sci-fi and fantasy films around. There's plenty still to pick. I know you haven't done Tron yet, have you?
No, that was your other choice.
It was my other choice. I think Tron is. I think it's a movie of its time. I have to say I don't like the modern Tron films, but the old Tron. The original Tron was just a movie of its times, and actually when you watch it, it's quite clever, its ideas in it. So maybe we'll do that as another one, because this is obviously Battle Beyond the Stars.
Absolutely. One thing, I know this is a Battle Beyond the Stars stream, but I haven't seen Tron since I was about 5 or 6. Some people go, what? I just haven't. I'll get round to it. And if we're going to do it, when it gets done, I'll end up watching it at least twice again anyway, and I'll probably end up watching the sequels.
I can lend you my DVD of it. I think I've got a DVD, like a special edition DVD that my brother bought me years ago. I can lend you that. You can have a watch of it.
Happy days. But no, I know this is about Beyond the Stars stream, but I think it's a channel on YouTube called The Corridor Crew, and they recreated the bike chase, you know, the light bike sequence using modern editing stuff. And I know, Dave, you do this stuff as well. You know, you do all your own intros and all your computer graphics. And with modern technology, they were blown away by how complex some of those seemingly simple things were to recreate with modern technology. So it's testament to any film of this era. So I guess I'll ask you then. You can do all this computery stuff. I know you can because you make all my stuff for my channel. So, do you ever watch any of these films, or is there any special effects? Do you watch it? Does that eye of yours, does that ruin it for you in any way, or
No.
do you just sort of pick apart how it works? I don't know.
I think for for modern films, I don't really care how modern films are made. It's too, you know, computers do everything. It's a bit boring. For old films, I find watching the making of an old film, you know, when they used to do good making of documentaries, actually can improve a movie no end. And I've watched some movies. This is slightly off topic, but sort of not really. I watched Moonraker, the James Bond Moonraker movie.
Wow. Excellent film.
Which is a classic. And I watched the movie, but actually before I watched the movie, I watched the making of. And if you watch the making of before you watch it, it's such a better film for how they put things together. Even the space stuff at the end of it, which, you know, does link into Battle Beyond the Stars, I guess. The space station at the end, there's a fascinating sort of element of that documentary about it gets destroyed at the end of Moonraker. We've ruined another movie there. I've given the end away. The station gets destroyed. But how they filmed it was someone came in with a shotgun and they literally fired a shotgun at this model and blew it up with a shotgun. I mean, you know, obviously filmed it at high speed. So
I consider myself a big Bond fan, and I did not know that. No,
but that's the thing. So when you watch a making of a movie, it makes that movie so much better because you're then you can think, God, the work that went into making it. I wish they'd make a making of Battle Beyond the Stars. They probably don't have any sort of behind the scenes footage, but there's enough people on the cast and the crew that are still around that they could interview them, and I bet there's some some fun stories about how it was made, and and how awkward the cast were and things like that. I think it would have been, sci-fi films are always interesting for me, how they made the models, what bits of ships they probably butchered to make the models of them. I always find them more fascinating.
I'm just saying some quick hellos to people. Well, I am listening to what you're saying. Hey, Excelsior. So many people have shown up tonight, and I'm so chuffed. You've all shown up. Retro Tinker, Kim, TJC came in. Great turnout this evening. Really good to see you all. But what's VT up here? They only go to space because of Star Wars, probably. Was never in the book. Yeah, no, that's absolutely. So
I think this movie is 100% there because of Star Wars. It's not.
Star Wars changed everything, didn't it?
Yeah,
toys.
It wouldn't have got
everything.
Made without Star Wars. And I think there's many movies that you could say, things even like Disney's The Black Hole. That would be another movie I'd quite happily talk about, is Disney's Black Hole. I think it's, again, of that era. And another film that's actually quite dark and not particularly child-friendly, I think. There's elements of it as a movie that is quite child-friendly because you've got cute robots and things, but so many people die in it in horrid ways, and the end is just freaky. I think they're very similar to sort of Battle Beyond the Stars in its sort of bleakness. I don't think this would get made today, or if it did get made today, it wouldn't be sort of a fun adventure. It'd be much more serious and much more gloomy, but probably have a better ending.
Well, the thing is, Dave, I say to everyone who comes on here, it is a lifelong contract, as in once you've been on once, I can now call on you forevermore for films. So,
No, that's fine.
Make a
I'm
list
always,
of films you want to do. You're always
always
welcome back.
I'm always happy to talk about sort of weird things, and if I've got toys I can show, it's always better because I've got a library of toys here.
So I take it there's no toys. I certainly don't know any of Battle Beyond the Stars, other than you can buy model ships now, and you can buy, like, I don't know if it's NECA, but those sort of style figures. The adult collectible more type figures.
Yeah, at the time there certainly weren't any. I don't think. I don't recall it. I don't recall at the time there being any sort of models around. But then, a lot of stuff in those days was if it wasn't in your local shop, you wouldn't have found it anywhere. I didn't know there were black hole figures until many years after the black hole came out. I didn't know there were Tron figures until many years after Tron had come out. So, but from being a toy collector for many years now, there definitely aren't any things made. I think there was probably a novel of the book, like there often was. Obviously, there's the soundtrack, and then there would have been VHS copies of the movie. But other than that, at the time, I don't. There's not going to be anything about. I don't even remember. It used to be sort of Kellogg's cornflakes things, didn't they? You'd buy a packet of cornflakes, and there would be those rub-off stickers of Star Wars stuff. I don't think there was anything like that. Star Trek had them. Star Trek had collectible trading cards that came out. I think it was possibly Weetabix or something like that. You had cards.
But this has been a real 50-50 for me. I'm just going to address one comment quick. Gil, absolutely. Hit me up on Instagram. We'll chat about that. Not a problem. This film has been a real 50-50 for me because I wasn't aware of it till you told me. I watched it and I messaged you straight after saying, like, I really enjoyed that. That was great. But it's 50-50. Half people have seen it, half haven't. And tonight in the chat, so many people are aware of this movie, but equal amounts I've spoke to are like, no, I've not seen it. Even to the point when there's a group of people, I spam them, I'll send them a link to these shows and say, oh, this is going to be on this day if you want to watch. But with this one, I actually sent the link to the 4K version of this on YouTube if you want to watch before the show.
I think it is one of those movies that you either know it or you don't. And it may be sort of an age thing that if you're born after it, then it's a cult. I guess more of a cult movie. It's not like Star Wars. I think even things like Black Hole and Tron, they're sort of cult films, but they obviously, like, Tron has been remade recent. Well, not remade, but there've been sequels of it.
Sequels,
made. So,
yeah.
It's still in people's memories. But with this one, there's nothing. There's no TV spin-off. There's no cartoon spin-off. It's just a one-off movie. It's not like Flash Gordon. I know you did the Flash Gordon review, but Flash Gordon's been around.
Dave just said we're all old farts.
I didn't say farts, but we are all old. Let's put it this way. Come on, you just have to look at me to see I'm an old man. It's not like it's not secret
man,
knowledge.
I've just turned 40, but I am going to say to that though, some people are surprised because I'm certainly not the youngest in this community, but I'm probably on the younger side of collectors.
Oh, yeah.
Don't all throw stuff at me, people. But one of the reasons I like my Action Man love, I've told the story on my channel many a times, but I had an older sister, and the PC term these days would not be tomboy, but she was. Julianne was an absolute tomboy. So the reason I had Thundercats, Motu, Transformers, they weren't my toys. They were my sister, who's like 6 years older than me. 7 years older than me. If I've got this wrong and she ever sees us, she'll kill me. Anyway, so these were sort of hand-me-down toys. So I was handed to Thundercats I got into because it was still on TV. Motu, a little bit of it. But a lot of these things I have a connection to. So I sort of span 80s and 90s by one. Although born in 84, I like a lot of the 90s stuff. But then I had sisters who were born early 80s. So that's why I pick up. I sort of sit in a weird middle space for all this. Sort of a love for all of it.
I think, but that's what happens. Certainly for me growing up, a lot of the stuff I watched was stuff that was actually on telly way before I was born, but just because of there wasn't a great we discussed, there wasn't a great deal of choice as far as TV channels go, so you would watch stuff that was a lot older than you were in sort of, in TV history. I love things like Space 1999 and UFO, which are Jerry Anderson things, but they were all made before I was born. I like things like Irwin Allen's Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea and Lost in Space and things like that. But I was only watching those on Channel 4 mornings. They used to show those things early, sort of, 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning. But because there was so little choice for telly and sci-fi sort of, or fancy things, that's how I would watch them. And I guess Battle Beyond the Stars is that sort of thing to many people. It's not that much of a mainstream movie, so it's sort of things that people would have watched in the summer holidays or something if it was being re-shown, and you'd have to be a certain type of person and age of person, I think, to sort of get into it.
I'm just going to address a couple more comments, Dave, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Excelsior says there's definitely another film that uses footage from Battle Beyond the Stars. Ice Pirates, was it? And Excelsior says, is she married? If you're referring to my sister, read the Transformers Motu thing. Yeah, she's married. Mate, she's a nightmare. Like, even if she wasn't, I'd save you the drama. That's a very strong woman. I'm scared of her. She's 5'0" and I wouldn't cross her. Reading Movies also put Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon was meant to be a reimagining sort of, but it was terrible.
Oh, I've not watched that. I've bookmarked it to watch, but I haven't watched it yet, so I probably won't then.
And what's Connor put here? That's true about old things on TV. Sure, Batman 66 was a Saturday morning staple for years. It was for me as a kid. That, those Batman, the Adam West Batman, to go back on an episode I did with Martin, because we did Batman 89, we obviously had to speak about Batman 66, and I was very aware of it. That's the first Batman I ever knew. Well, just like the old TV Spider-Man TV films, like the live action ones and the old cartoon.
The first Flash Gordon I watched would have been the Buster Crab, I think it was, Flash Gordon, for the black and white serial stuff that they used to show. Summer holidays, the 6-week summer holidays, they would show the black and white versions every morning. I think it was on BBC Two. They would just show it one after the other for the whole 6 weeks. But it doesn't, and it was, I guess it was relatively rubbish. But again, because you had so little choice, you would watch it, and it became, quite an exciting thing to watch. Even though every episode had a cliffhanger at the end of it, you would just keep on watching it. So I think, there's definitely the era that you like is not necessarily the era you're born in. It's stuff around it. Certainly the stuff before it will stick within your mind.
Well, look, the toy line, to come away from this bit into toys, all part of the pop culture sphere. The main toy line I collect finished a year before I was born, but it was still about, and it still got me, and that nostalgia pulls me back. So
yeah, no, it's all that, You've seen my toy collection here. You've been round and you've witnessed the sort of variety of what I have here. There's stuff from all eras. Some of it was things before I was born. Some of it's sort of a bit later than that. But it's all I have a connection to all of it because it's the stuff I would have played with, and you play with whatever you have to hand. In your toy box, whatever was there, whatever you were given, whatever came from jumble sales. You get a connection to it.
I have been in that room several times, and I will say, you go in there, and Dave's just like, yeah, grab what you want, look at what you want, and I'm always like, nah, man, it looks too good, and he's just there like, yeah, just pick it up, it's fine, don't worry about it, it's a toy, play with it.
Yeah, it's all to be played with. And I knock so much stuff over in here. I was having a bit of a rearrange the other day and knocked over most of my Action Men. It's just part of toy collecting.
Well, yeah, but so. Having been to the Somerset Underground, I smuggled in through a dark underground corridor with a blindfold on. Yeah. And then I had to put the bag back over your head to kick you out, and you don't know where I live now. I've got no idea, but at least you made me a nice ham sandwich before I left.
Yeah.
What can I say?
Well, yeah, you have to treat guests politely and kindly, so everyone gets fed well 100%. When they come here.
Yeah, so I think we are getting off subject, on subject, but it's a great chat. This isn't just about the film. I get guests on. It's great to have a chat with people and go over things. I
think we haven't discussed Sybil Downing enough yet.
Let's bring her up. Let's go on. Let's do it. See, I'm controversially here, right? Sybil Danning, lovely, lovely, lovely lady, but my heart would lie with Nanalia. That's just me, but there you go. But Sybil Danning.
I think Sybil Danning's look is very of its time, shall we say. I don't actually know much about her. She was clearly an actress, but I'm guessing, was she a model as well of some sort like that? Because she's got a very
Let's have a look.
page 3 style about her. Now, I don't, that sort of. I don't know if she was an enhanced lady. I'm not going to speculate on whether those are real or not. But she's certainly got an 80s look about her in the sort of the titillation states that they would have put in British newspapers. I know it's an American film, but I'm sure the Americans had the same.
So she has been in plenty of other films, but there's some trivia here, and I'm not going to lie to you. I'm just straight up looking on IMDb, right? Not going to lie to you. Apparently, she was actually considered for the female role in the James Bond film Octopussy.
That doesn't surprise me. She does have a Bond girl thing going on.
And her nickname is the Queen of B movies. So, Pale Blood, LA Bounty, Superboy, Phantom Empire, Werewolf of Woman SS, Rob Zombie's Halloween, it looks like she was in The Lair, Virus X.
Was she?
Yeah, Talking Walls, lots of bits and pieces she's been, and that's just me skimming IMDb, because as much as when I put these shows together, the truth is there's only so much time in the day I get to research these between full-time job, love my wife and kid to bits, but my boy he's energetic, ain't he, Dave?
He is. He is.
He's a firecracker.
I always like meeting up with Jax because I learn so many things every time we chat. He tells me all sorts of stuff, and I find him a fascinating. He's so full of knowledge. It's amazing, and he likes toys as well. Which if you come to my house, you have to learn to love that as well. So
the problem is, if you go to your house, last time I left, Mrs. Toy Polloi was going, just take some of just take some stuff. He's got too much. I was like, no. I'm not taking anything.
You'll find if anybody who comes to my house generally goes away with something. I always like to let people go with a toy. It's it's nice to pass on the collection. But no, so anyway, Sybil Danning, I don't think as a child she had the same effect on me that she would do as an adult. I think there were other things in that movie that I remembered more than her. Again, that's an age thing. I would have only been. I think this movie came out when I was 6, so when I saw it, I was going to be, I would say, 8 or 9. Mm-hmm. I probably didn't pay attention as much as I would have done if I was 16 or something like that to her as a character, shall we say, and especially her outfits.
No, but there's I would say you'd never see something like that in Star Wars, but then Slave Leia, so that I definitely think her outfit was by design and for a reason. And
it's not just her outfit though. The spaceship that she flies, the way she is sat in that spaceship,
sort of let down in it.
She is. Yeah, everyone else is sort of flying. Sitting in.
Nearly fell off my chair then.
Everyone else is sort of flying. Like sort of sitting up, but hers, she's almost laying horizontal. So all you can see, it's designed to focus on a couple of things, and I don't.
Jason 80s Toys. Good evening.
It's designed to focus on a couple of things that are not her face. It's all sort of there. It's a very strange design for a ship.
It is. It's and as you say, that the outfit I picked that one because if you type in on Google "Battle Beyond the Stars" Sybil Danning, that seems to be the outfit that comes up. That's the one I use. I didn't definitely purposely use her for the thumbnail.
Of course not. The second outfit she has is more like a sort of Jane Fonda workout type thing, sort of made out of I don't know what's made. It's very shiny but it is there's lots of bits missing on it, and it
Yeah.
is incredibly well designed, because all the bits that are missing, there's still enough covered that it's not quite obscene. But it's really, it's a really, it's for the dads, shall we say? I think.
Yeah, well, that's 100% what that outfit. That's why that was put there, and it's going back on something that I was saying earlier about there's things that happen in this film which you just wouldn't see in Star Wars that takes you out of it. I don't remember the exact line, but her and Nenalia, it's before the final sort of kickoff, the final battle. And Nenalia, Sybil Danning's character says something to Nenalia, like, sticks her arm around and says something like, stick with me and we'll talk about sex or something rather like that. And you're like, well, okay. You know, about Shad, like, I'll teach you stuff. Like, what? Wow, that was in this film?
Yeah, it's such
I mean, that's not word for word. That's just me. But that's basically what they were saying.
Yeah, it's such a sort of strange film for its levels of, you know, it is a kids movie, but it's really dark, and there are bits of adult content in it. It sort of doesn't know what it's aiming at, but maybe that's why it's good, because there is a bit for everybody. There's bits for kids, there's bits for adults.
Can I hear Luna?
You can. She's just come in to say hello. So
hello, Luna.
She's been in and out a few times because she doesn't like me talking. I think she just gets annoyed. So she's come in to say hello. If she was friendly, I would pick her up and show you, but she's not a friendly cat, so I cannot show.
I've got one like that. It's just you take your life in your hands. But
I think she's probably telling me it's time to feed her. It's about 10 o'clock.
Well, we are almost on time, Dave. So perhaps Luna's just got a sixth sense. But anything else you wanna cover before we wrap this up?
No, I think we've done a sort of a good job of talking rubbish about a movie for an hour and a half.
And that's what this is all about.
But I think that's what these movies are. You know, this is the sort of thing I would chat with all my friends about when we're talking about movies. The actual story and the sort of the overall sort of plot of the movie is not actually that important. It's all of the little memories that you have of it, and that's
your connection as well.
Special.
You know,
yeah, and the sausage is still by far the best scene.
It's a great scene, you know. And I think I already said it. I just wanted to say again. Hey, Chasing 80s Toys. Hey, Chris. Cheers for joining us this evening. Yeah, there's lots to chew over in this film. It's anyone who hasn't seen this in the chat, this chat won't have ruined it for you, because there's lots to it. As I say, you just type in Battle Beyond the Stars full movie on YouTube. You can watch it. It's an hour and 40 minutes. It's great.
I think if you're a fan of, you know, things like Star Wars and those early 80s fantasy and sci-fi movies, it's well worth watching it.
Hey, John Boone.
It's still a very watchable movie today. There's no bits in it that drag or anything. It's an hour, you know, as you say, an hour 40, and it's not boring. There's no dull bits in it.
Not at all.
It zips through, and then all of a sudden it ends. So
and it does end.
Yeah, it's like, well, end. So yeah, it's well worth watching. If you haven't seen it, do watch it, and I think you will enjoy it. You'll find something in it that you'll like. So
there's a couple, but before we close the show out completely, I will just say thank you to everyone who joined us this evening in the chat. You've all been brilliant. Sorry any comments I didn't get to. I really hope the chat wasn't playing up tonight, because that was really frustrating the other night that some people's comments wouldn't even post. Hopefully that's not the case. But again, thank you for being here. You've been here in force. You've contributed brilliantly to this, and it always helps drive the conversation as well. So thank you for being here as ever and supporting the channel. As I say, if you want to chuck a like on this or subscribe if you haven't already, that'd be awesome. And now I'm going to say thank you to you, Dave. Cheers for coming on, man. It's been a long time coming. Finally got you on here. You've sort of lined yourself up for a few more films now, so no escape. And you've said it publicly, so you can't get out of it.
That's fine. That's fine. It's nice to be sort of on, and it's always nice to chat toys. So not toys, movies. It's
toys,
always nice
films, all of it.
It's nice to chat just about general stuff, you know, the things that we enjoy. So no, thanks for having me on, and I will.
You're welcome anytime.
I will happily come on again.
And I say this to every guest: this is your moment. Please I'm telling you on my channel to promote your channel. But anyway, the irony. Please do promote your channel and anything you've got coming up.
Well, I think as most of you know, I'm Toy Polloi. You can find me on YouTube. I fix and repair old toys. So just, I'm sure I've probably covered a toy or topic that you will enjoy. So come and find my channel. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. But yeah, I'm essentially an old man who fixes toys. That is my selling point.
Yeah, and he's got a thing for destroying Legos, so but in a good way. Yeah. So right, there's nothing left more to say now other than it has been awesome. I'm going to say thank you again to the chat. I'm going to say thank you again to you, Dave. I'm not entirely sure when the next show is. It will be posted very soon. I think me and Monkey Boy might be doing a live Moderately Entertaining next Saturday, and that will be one for the books. That's what I promise you will never have seen a live stream like it with what we have planned. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And so Dave, thank you again. Thank you, chat. And now we do the awkward wave goodbye and I play the outro video. So see you all again soon. Bye guys.
See ya.
Bye.